Brunch with a Black Man, live from the city. Handmade, take one.
Over the course of a few years, life yielded a crisis of pandemics, resulting in many reeling and searching for answers. Black men especially have had to grieve the passing of hip-hop icons DMX, Michael K. Williams, Biz Markie, and many others, who not only just provided a soundscape to our childhood, but were heroes to many. How has this impacted Black men? How has this altered the way they see themselves, their ability to express themselves, and their mental health? We sit down with Black men raised on the culture of hip-hop and ask them directly. Let's have a bite, take a step back in order to move forward. I'm your host, Miracle Jones, and this is Brunch with a Black Man. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy.
Oh, yours looks amazing.
Thanks. Yours looks pretty good. I was going to get that at first, but then I decided.
You can try it if you want to. It's the grilled cheese. So is this how you grew up? Like getting lunch, brunch during the middle of the day?
Absolutely not. I didn't grow up with any of this fanciness that's before me right now. Yeah, I grew up in Wilkinsburg. It was hard. You know what I mean? Like it was like super hard. It was just a lot going on around me. You know, just like a lot of poverty, a lot of like police presence, a lot of violence and stuff like that. So yeah, it was kind of hard. And it was just me and my mom growing up too. So it was like kind of crazy. You know, very challenging.
You say growing up in Wilkinsburg. Have you been there your whole life? Like, were you born and raised?
Yeah, I'm a native for sure. And went to high school there, the whole nine. So, like, I always tell people, like, I didn't really have, like, the Pittsburgh experience growing up because Wilkinsburg is just, like, its own world to me. You know what I mean? Like, the challenges in Wilkinsburg are very different from the challenges in Pittsburgh, you know? It's, like, two very, very different, like, experiences, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, like, what if I pick a day, like, 6-year-old, what is 6-year-old life doing in Wilkinsburg? Like, describe, like, a day in the life.
6-year-old Live, he's waking up. Jay-Z is on the radios and getting dressed, getting ready for school. My mom was working at the ticket office, and she was basically like working a bunch of jobs and things like that to try to pay my way through like private school and stuff like that because education was really important to her because her parents were educators as well. So, you know, I was just in school trying to keep my grades up and just, you know, just focused on making a better life for myself, you know.
So you're talking that you didn't have like a traditional Pittsburgh experience. You're also doing private school. So how are you connecting with your friends and your community members like in Wilkinsburg?
To be honest, the connection was always through music, you know. I think that music is a universal language, so I think everybody can speak it. Like, you know, there could be somebody sitting across from me. We don't speak the same like language or dialect, but I can play a song and we can both probably feel the same way from it. So that was really how I connected with everybody, was just talking about music, different things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty like awesome. So your mom's working, ticket office, you're at school bonding with like music. Is there somebody there like to help you process your private school life versus the community life of violence that you're seeing?
I was kind of isolated in that way because when I was going to like grade school and stuff like that, like a majority of my peers like weren't going back to communities like Wilkinsburg when they left school and when they left after school and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like they're going home, they're playing with the dog and doing all these different things, like playing video games and doing all this different stuff, like living a very privileged life. And I'm going home, and it's like there's times I couldn't even go outside just because of just hearing gunshots, hearing police sirens. You know what I mean? Like just word traveling around, like somebody got killed at the park or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? So going from just being isolated in the environment of like the classroom to like going home and then sometimes not even being able to like just go outside and be a normal kid, like it was pretty hard, I'm not gonna lie.
And so how are you also dealing with like the racial changes between like you and your classmates at school? Because you're in this environment, your mom's pushing you for this education, but not only do you have a community disconnect, you also have like a racial disconnect with your classmates.
Man, I was playing sports growing up, so that was it wasn't something that I had to stop dealing with, but that's something that helped me kind of like get rid of all that. And I learned from an early age, like when you're really good at something, it surpasses a lot of different things that are tangible. You know what I mean? Like being talented at sports surpassed like racial disconnect because I was just really good at it. You know what I mean? And through that, like I was able to really just like start to define myself as a person, and I had something that I was able to like build an identity through that beyond just like what people saw when they looked at me.
So you have sports, you're also like dabbling, getting into music, but you're still dealing with the isolation. So when was like the first time you sat down and was like, I gotta like figure what this is?
I specifically remember one time that I went out for like the school play, and it was like a Romeo and Juliet type of thing, but it was like kind of like a remix of it. And I auditioned, and the language they used, they told me that I was portraying the part too urban. And that was like the first time where I was like, okay, like this is really like the challenge looking me in the face, because that was like the first time I like dealt with like a microaggression, like racial, and even looking back on it now, it's like I knew what they were saying, but I didn't have the language to communicate how it made me feel and really communicate to other people like what was going on. But I just knew that like, all right, like this is what it is, And so like moving forward, it just made me realize like just keeping in mind like, like I'm always in this place of like having to navigate like what people are looking at me as and their perception of me, just because of who I naturally am and who I choose to be. I could choose to be anybody else. I could choose to sit here and act like I'm somebody I'm not, just for the approval of somebody else who ultimately isn't gonna like me anyway. Or I could just like kind of lean back and be like, you know what, like it's all good because this is just who I am and this is just what I gotta deal with.
So what you have to deal with now versus when you were a kid, have you been able to reconcile a lot of those identity issues?
Oh yeah, for sure. Just growing up, my mom and my family, they were very like pro-black, very just be yourself. You know what I mean? That was something that they preached to me. So for me, I just looked at it like, regardless of whether somebody likes it or not, I'm gonna be who I am. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm gonna like what I like, and I'm just gonna live in that, and whatever comes with it is just what comes with it. But I'm not gonna sit here and shrink myself or shrink my personality or shun certain parts of myself because somebody else doesn't like it. You know what I mean? Like I'm here now, like unapologetically myself, and I just live in it. So
now you're unapologetically yourself.
Yeah.
But what took you to get there?
Honestly, it was it was really just starting to make music, because one of the things I realized when I was growing up, like playing sports, I realized like I like sports, but I really, really love music, and nothing can separate me from my love for music. And so making the choice to pursue music, like after I got out of high school and making that choice, that was when I really started to like step into my own, because that was who I was and that was my identity. And you know, there were family members who didn't approve, there were friends who didn't approve or didn't support it, but the important thing for me was that, you know, I chose it, I'm gonna stand on it, and I'm gonna, you know, hone in on my personality and my identity through music. So that was, I think, the point where, you know, that was how I really got there.
Summer love you from sundown till the sun is up. I want you right now, just to sum it up. Let's just slow it down, I don't wanna rush. Yeah, hey.
So you did make this decision to affix your identity to like music. What about music spoke to you?
It was finally being able to express myself and just being able to say how I feel about certain topics. Like if I was angry, if I was sad, if I was super ecstatic, if I was just like really feeling myself, like I just knew that I could always just put it in a song. And that was where I found, ultimately that's like where I found freedom, was just being able to just put things in a song and express myself.
Talking about putting in a song and expressing yourself, as you're on this journey, when was like the first time you had somebody talk to you like about like mental health and your wellness and being able to like to make sure your mind was okay?
I don't know if I knew the term mental health back then, but I've been seeing therapists for pretty much my entire life, just on and off. And even back then, probably in like maybe the fourth grade, like having a therapist, I think it really helped because it was just a space where I could just talk about what was going on like in my head and with my emotions. And you know, I couldn't solve everything right then and there, you know, but I at least could talk to somebody about it, and I had a resource and I had an outlet, you know, that wasn't like a pen and a pad or like making a beat or something like that, you know what I mean?
What was like that first therapy session like?
It was weird. It was really weird. It was weird for me because it wasn't like somebody I knew or somebody, you know, that like knew me very well. But I think that was the beauty in it, was that there was somebody I could talk to and they could be completely bipartisan when it came to my emotions or my feelings. You know, you talk to your friends and sometimes you have friends in your life or people in your life who they're just always gonna take your side, you know? And they're gonna take your side because they're so close to you, and they're gonna take your side because they just want you to feel better and they just want you to feel validated. And I think sometimes people do that in a self-serving way where they're like, oh, I'm gonna validate this person because if I validate them like this, they'll validate me in a certain way. So having a therapist was just like, oh, okay, like this is somebody who, they're not here to gas me up. They're not here to like stroke my ego. They're not here to throw a pity party with me. They're just here to, you know, hear what I have to say and be bipartisan about it and help me think logically through my emotions and my thoughts and the different things I had going on within me.
And so you continue on like your journey with therapy. What has inspired you to say, hey, you know, when I was a kid, like I had to go to like the therapy, like your parents, school, but now I'm an adult and I'm still gonna keep using this as a resource?
I believed that being a better person would ultimately make me a better artist. And one of the things that I have always kind of struggled with was because of what I was conditioned to do, I always created from a place of pain. And I realized it was very difficult and challenging for me to create from a place of joy. You know, like things are going well in my life and all of a sudden I can't write a song or I can't make a beat. So what I realized I was doing was I would like self-sabotage my life because I just wanted to write a song and I felt like I was having like a like a creative block. But I was happy, you know, it didn't make sense to me. So going to therapy like now as an adult, it just really came from like wanting to be a better music artist, but also just like overcoming that need for pain. Like I think that like a lot of times, you know, we hear like in music, like we'll hear like people like telling their struggle story and all these different things, but I think people sometimes grow, especially in hip hop, to rely on pain and to rely on struggle to produce art and to hone in on the craft, when really it's not about what you're going through. It's about, you know, you being talented and a talent that you were given, you know, by, you know, like a God-given talent, you know what I mean? So for me, I was just like, how can I continue to tap into this gift that was given to me without having to lean into this dark place?
And so you talk about like not wanting to self-sabotage, not wanting to get away from darkness. What are some of the ways you've been able to lean into like joy and happiness?
The first step for me was allowing myself to feel joy and to feel happiness. I think that a lot of times people get into the mindset that they don't deserve joy, that they don't deserve happiness. I think sometimes we do that in like the Black community because that's just what we're told. You know what I mean? Through the media, through other things as well. We're always just being told that we don't deserve to feel joy. We don't deserve to feel happy. We don't deserve to feel pride. And the first step for me was really just like allowing myself to feel proud of myself, to feel joyful, to feel happy, to feel free, you know?
And then what was like the next step for you?
The next step was finding ways to celebrate, you know? Like I think that celebration of yourself is like really important. So what I allowed myself to do was I allowed that to reflect in my music. And even with the music that I'm making now, like it's very, there's definitely a lot of pride and a lot of like bravado and braggadocio, but that doesn't come from a place of like just complete arrogance. If anything, it just comes from me just being able to say like, I'm allowing myself to feel proud of myself. Like I'm allowing myself to wake up, look in the mirror and actually just enjoy what I see, you know? And to stop telling myself that I shouldn't like this or I shouldn't enjoy this, because I should, and I think everybody should.
And we talk about like feeling that happiness, feeling those feelings. Is that one of the reasons why you talked about like this detox life that you're doing and pushing that on like on social media?
Yeah, it definitely is. Because that was another struggle that I really had to overcome was like substance abuse, you know? And I think that like one of the things I realized was that I'm using substances to get myself back to a place that is very unhealthy for me emotionally, mentally, and physically for the sake of music. And I think that sometimes I would get this, I would almost get like a messiah complex of like, I have to sacrifice my body and sacrifice myself to deliver this message to the world, when really it doesn't have to be like that. You know what I mean? Like really, it's like I can take care of myself. I can, you know, use substances less. I can wean off of these things. And that doesn't make me any less of an artist. If anything, it made me a better artist. So that's a reason that I've really been, you know, like vocal about it, because I think it's important for other artists to know too that like, you know, like substances don't make you a better artist. They might make the creative process more fun or more interesting, but it doesn't mean, like you don't lose I'm not gonna lose my ability to rap because I didn't smoke weed or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not like Space Jam, it just sucked my powers out. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is something I've been doing since a kid, you know what I mean? This is something I taught myself how to do in complete sobriety. So why does it take me having to smoke or having to drink or do this to write a song or make a beat or, you know, lay some vocals down? It doesn't, you know?
You talk a lot about your art, you know, DWB, Driving While Black.
Driving While Black.
How did this come about? Like you and your, I always call y'all twins, but your other Jordan.
Yeah.
Like how did y'all decide to create this network and label?
Driving While Black, the label, was Jordan Montgomery's idea. But it was more so my idea that we should be like a label or a rap group. Because me and Jordan Montgomery, we've been friends since high school, and we've made music together back then. Don't go look it up, it's terrible. But it's not good. But you know, we met through One Hood, through Paradise, through Jasiri, and that's actually that's not where we met, but that's where we reconnected after high school. And you know, we met JM, and JM was just rocking with us, and we were just like, we're Driving While Black. And to me, like personally, I just look at being a part of Driving While Black and being live from the city. Like, what does all of that mean? To me, it means being a voice of the lived-in experience of Black people. Like, there's like a lot that comes with the notion of Driving While Black. You know what I mean? But it's a real experience. It's happened to people all over the country, all over the world, all throughout our city. And, you know, it's just like, we just got to talk about that. We got to talk about that experience, you know, like, but that's the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. You know, sometimes it means like we get pulled over for no reason, but sometimes it means like I'm Black, I'm from the hood, and I'm proud of that. So that's all of those things rolled in one.
You talk about being proud of that. Does Live now look back at like 6-year-old Live and be like, bruh, let me tell you how good it is now? Or is it like we still got work to do?
There's always still work to do, but man, I don't even know if I would go back to my 6-year-old self and tell him that it all worked out, because I would interfere with the choices that made him me, right? But you know, I look back now and I think about all of the things that I used to worry about, how I used to want to be accepted, and how I used to want to feel some sense of community from certain people. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, I wish I could have let it go of that feeling back then, but I'm so glad that I let go of it when I did, because it sent me down this path of just like, oh wow, like once I did that, all of these things opened up, and it just felt like it happened at the right time. Because I think life is really just all about timing, you know what I mean?
Yes, it is all about timing, and we are at time. So I do want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us with Brunch with a Black Man. I hope you dig in, like eat your food, and then enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this this week's edition of Brunch with a Black Man. I hope it really gave you some clarity to take on your own mental health journey, think about your own sobriety, think about how you're using your life and your art. If you have any questions or need help, please reach out to us. Tune in next time for Brunch with a Black Man.